I need to make a spacer to fit over that axle to keep the scissor arms away from the tool holder part of the component, and I need to make a washer. So I'm going to use this piece of 4140 for both. The spacer is going to be about 1/4 inch thick, and the washer is going to be maybe 1/8 of an inch. I'm cut the spacer first. I've never cut 4140 in this saw before. Like it cut it with no problem though. Pretty good cut to me. I'll cut the washer next. Got a wide angle lens on this camera and I can't get too close or it'll be out of focus. I'm going to set up for the extend the piece and cut the washer, which I'm thinking is going to be 1/8 of an inch thick. I'm going to cut the washer now. Another nice cut. I don't have much experience with a lathe, so almost everything I do is new. For example, I'm going to face this spacer that I cut off that piece of 4140, but I've faced many things before, but I've never faced anything this short of length. It's only about 1/4 inch. So I've got the carriage up close to the chuck spinning. And of course, it's a little bit intimidating. But we're going to carry on. Took some pains to get the workpiece 1 inch in diameter, 1 1/8 inch in diameter, about 1/4 inch thick. Took some pains getting it straight in the chucks. There must be a technique or a trick or a method that would allow one to do that easily. I don't know what it is. But I bet I can find out. I bet YouTube will tell me. I bet we can do a lot faster. I'm just going to take it off the power feed and do it by hand or change the sheets. good to me. So next, I believe what I will do is punch a hole in that of some size, ½ inch or so, and then bore it, which also I've never done on a lathe. I've never bored on a lathe. Bore it to 0.600, or more precisely, bore it to fit this axle. Bore it to fit. So we'll be back. Oh, and after I bore it, I'll flip it and face the other side, because the other side will be scarred up from drilling and boring. Well, maybe not from boring, but from drilling. And even if it's not, there's no reason to undo this setup, which appears to have been good for facing. I got the workpiece in there nice and perpendicular to the jaws, so no need to undo that until I have to. I'll center drill it, and then we'll stick a drill bit in there and go to ½ inch. Reverse those jaws, I suppose, and hold it that way. And I might take a look at that after I center drill it. This is 4140 steel. Played with it on the lathe before and the mill before, but never. Well, I guess I have. I've made parts out of it before. I made a test crankshaft or steam engine. Looks good. I don't think I'm going to swap the jaws. Be right back. Got a ½ inch jobber's length TIN bit in there. See what happens. Both sides, that's always good, I've read. Next step is boring it, which will be a brand new thing for me on a lathe. Well, I wanted to use this boring bar that
my brother-in-law had found at an estate sale somewhere in Detroit. Some machinist, probably in the auto industry, had knew he was going to pass it along to me. I've got a lot of stuff like that, and I try to use it when I can. But it's a 1/2 inch bar, and of course that's a 1/2 inch hole, so I need more room than that. So that ain't gonna work. So I've got a bunch of borite bars, which some of them I've used that I bought some time ago. I used them in the mill, and so I'm going to try to use them in the lathe. I don't guess I'll go to prison for that. However, it might be against the Patriot Act. We'll find out, I suppose. I'll be back. Let me get this set up. Okay, I've got that little borite bar installed, and I'm going to put the cutter on center. Quite a bit of difference in height from that 1/2 inch bar to this little bitty one here. If you see me doing anything wrong or stupid, be sure to leave a comment and let me know. If you see me, if you know a better way to do a lot of this stuff, let me know. Because I don't have a lot of experience with this lathe. Or any lathe, not only this one, but any lathe. So let me know. And I'm going to align my tool posts. Well, here's my setup. I've got the little borite bar. It's an AL5-2 carbide tipped, mounted in the tool holder. Everything is parallel. This face is flush with this face, making the bar parallel to the lathe spindle. And I'm going to attempt this. I've got boring experience in the mill, but this is a first for me on the lathe. I've seen it done, of course. I watch old Keith Finner do stuff. You know, he's always just slapping things in there like he knows exactly what he's doing. I think he does. But it sure makes my efforts look puny. I think he reaches in there and touches it. And then just takes a few thou. So let's try that. It sounds like a good technique.
Take 10,000. Guess a little lube wouldn't hurt. Picking up 10. So I get a good feel for this. So do is power feed this baby. Let's see how fast we go. Well, it'll be slow enough, that's for sure. See what it looks like one time. Well, the finish looks pretty horrible. It's thready. So I'm going to change the feed. Slowing it down sure don't sound like the answer. So I'm going to speed her up a little bit. Read my tables. I'm feeding at, I'm feeding at 0.00168 inch per revolution. I'm going to go to 0.00294. Take another 10. The horrible finish was created when I drug the bar back out. So that bar must be springing. And we'll take another 10 and I'll shut the machine off and drag the bar out. See what that looks like. Feed for some reason. What's going on here? Do I have the carriage locked? Nope. I must not have it in gear all the way. Well, the finish is real good now. I bet I've got a line on it. No. So, procedure is going to be stick that bar in there, stick it all the way through it, shut it down, drag it out. I won't bore you with all that, so I'll be back. Well, this is working pretty good. I'm going to stay at 10 thousandths every cut until I get close. I'm going to put the old snap gauge in it, telescoping gauge.
See what we get. $5.73. It's cutting right on the money every time I take 10 thousandths. I guess you get to see the back of my head. Sorry about that. Plus, you get to see my hat. It's a very special hat. It's the most special hat in the world to me. One day, I don't think I've ever told this. Well, I've told the story before. One day, my little brother and I are sitting on the back patio watching the golfers. I think it was girl day or something. There was a lot of female golfers out there, and he was commenting and complimenting and on their style and their swing. He wasn't in good health, and it was a beautiful early spring day. And he had been wanting to go outside, so we got out there and we were watching, talking. We talked for hours. We must have been out there at least 4 hours, maybe 5. And he passed away in my arms. And when I laid him down on the patio, this hat fell off on the flagstone patio, and it was went from there to here. So that's the story of the hat. I wear this hat whenever I'm working because he was a working man and just a great guy. So back to the boring part of this video later. We're at 593 and a half. Also learned how to properly use these snap gauges by watching Keith Fenner. Okay, we're at 599 and a half. Let's do a little test fit. Well, for a washer, that's going to fit really well. It could have been a little bit smaller, maybe a thousandths or 1.5 thousandths, but that's going to work real well. I know this was a very simple little project, creating this spacer, but I'd never bored anything on the lathe before, so I was happy with it. The finish turned out just superbly with this 4140. Unlike finish on this 1018. Of course, I did turn, quote unquote, that in the mill with a reverse boring operation, and I probably could have done quite a bit better on the lathe. But still, I have turned 1018 before, and it simply doesn't turn out like this 4140 did. Now, on to make the washer for which is kind of a key piece of this ensemble. The washer is only 1/8 of an inch thick. I decided to make it that thick, and it's going to be a real trick for me to get it parallel in the jaws of that vise. But I think using with this as experience, I think I can do it. I'm unskilled labor. I need to clamp this in the chuck, in this 3-jaw chuck, and I'm wondering how you do it so that you don't have it cocky wobbled. You know, it's in there like, I get my thumbs up, my fingers out of the way, it's in there like that or some other way. I screwed around with it, and I was using a thicker piece earlier, and I got that just fine. But this one is only 1/8 of an inch thick, and it's proved a challenge. So what I came up with is make sure your tool post is parallel to the chuck face. Always, I've only done it twice. Make it off parallel so I can tell when I can see it move. I know I'm hitting the tool holder instead of something else on the carriage. So, okay, so now it's parallel. So I'll lock it there. I bet everybody does it this way, I just don't know it. And I'll put my workpiece in the chuck and run the cross feed in past the way in there. And then I'll bring the, get my fingers completely out of the way, bring the carriage in till, oops, my screw is hidden, so I'll have to bring it up. Or maybe just turn the chuck a little bit. There. Okay, bring the carriage in till you get it where you, the piece, get the carriage at the point where where the tool holder would stop the piece when you push it out like that. Okay, now that piece is perpendicular to the spindle bore, and it's sticking out a little too far, so I'll move the carriage in a little bit. And now it's time to clamp the workpiece in the chuck, thusly. Move my carriage out of the way. And it's ready to do whatever I want to do to it.